Evan, here we go. I don't know if you're ready for this. You are currently spoiler free right now, and I honestly don't know how long that's going to last. But
I'm turning on top 100 catches of all time, right? That's what I'm putting on
yeah,
TV.
something like that.
Okay, I can make that work. Yeah, as soon as I saw some of the leaks coming out today, I was like, I'm off social media. I'm done. So I don't even really remember the leaks that I saw this morning. I only saw the Toronto one.
Yeah, that was the first one to drop.
That's the
Well,
only one
that and the Montreal was one of the first to drop.
I don't remember the Montreal one.
Good for you, man. That's excellent.
Say nothing.
I wish I could do that. Just turn it off. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast Expansion Draft live stream. We are two of your hosts of the Winged Wheel Podcast. I'm Ryan Hanna.
And I'm Evan.
Brad is currently stuck wrestling 55-year-olds at once. But we presume he'll make it probably before around 8-ish. So in about 30 minutes here. So we are getting ready for the Seattle Kraken expansion draft. For those of you who don't know, the entire Seattle Kraken team has been leaked. The NHL, for some inexplicable reason, had the Kraken submit their list at 10 a.m. Eastern this morning, a full 10 hours before the actual draft or the expansion draft was supposed to be announced. And so you give reporters that much time. And they're going to uncover it. So we know the entire team, but we don't know the side deals. Evan is currently spoiler free for the Red Wings pick. I'm not sure if we're going to go the entire time until the draft without discussing it, but just for the sake of anyone watching who's spoiler free right now, don't read the chat if that's the case. And for Evan, we're going to hold off for the time being. Yes, Brad is wrestling 55-year-olds. He hates people with senior discounts. So, whose voice is on the intro to the show? It is a paid voiceover artist. I don't have her name handy, but I should probably look it up. So, yeah, if anyone doesn't want spoilers, by all means, do not look at the chat. And while you're here, give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.
Well, now I can't look at the chat either.
You really haven't? You were going to look at the chat and think that there were going to be no spoilers?
No, I'm not that naive.
Okay.
But I wanted to, read what people were saying, but now I can't. So,
well,
I wish there was a spoiler tag.
Okay, so what you know of the Red Wings protection list, who do you predict was selected and why?
I already said on the past episode that I thought it would be Troy Stecher. It seemed like the very obvious pick to me. Not many right-handed defensemen available that I would select. He's good analytically. He passes the eye test. He's a good locker room guy. And he's got a cheap contract. What is there not to like about that? So that'd be my pick. Unless we forgot to protect Dylan Larkin, like you said in our chat. But I don't think that's the case. So Troy Stecher's mine.
Of the more realistic, who did we say were the most realistic players to be picked? We said Stecher, Cholowski, Svechnikov.
Yeah, I think that was the list.
Who is your best case scenario to be taken, and who's your worst from a Red Wings fan perspective?
Worst would be Stecher because of all the things I just said. Best case scenario. Let me pull up the cap friendly real quick, because this team is very forgettable. So
yeah, Detroit has 3 players signed through next year. Actually, I think it might just be 2, Larkin and Wyatt Newpower or something. Not through next year, the year beyond. It's gonna be. Some of the comments in the chat. Evan, you're ugly as sin. Evan's the worst. Evan has a worse jawline than Ryan. Evan's golf polo is terrible. No, I'm kidding. Jake actually says he loves your golf polo. So
thanks. It's a Nike one.
So you're just looking at the cap friendly page. Basically, right
Yeah.
now, with the entire Seattle team leaked, without getting into specifics, the biggest takeaway is that there have to be a ton of side deals. It's what a lot of people have mentioned, that we're probably looking at least 10 or so here. So aside from the fact that the entire drama and the anxiety of it all has been taken away from the viewer, the side deals still haven't been announced. So that's at least a bonus.
So best case scenario, would Franz Nielsen be the best case scenario?
No. Realistically, so of the four that I listed, Svechnikov, Stetcher, Nemesnikov, and Cholowski.
I guess by process elimination it would be Nemesnikov. What's other than Stetcher? Or no, he's older than Stetcher, I think. You kind of know what Nemesnikov is at this point. He would be great if he could play some depth center, but I think he was playing a lot of right wing this past season, so
yeah,
he didn't have a very memorable season with the Red Wings. So I could imagine him being the best case scenario from that list.
I didn't mind Nemesnikov this year. But yeah, I kind of agreed. If he was to be the player that was selected, I wouldn't really be terribly upset. He came in for free. Of course, he could be moved at either deadline, but at the same time, it's not like there was a massive market for him. Otherwise, we would have seen it last year. For me, I agree. I don't think there's any player that could be selected from the Red Wings unprotected list here who would be devastating. I think it's low impact no matter which way you cut it. Yeah, it's not great to lose a player for nothing, but that's the reality of expansion, and a lot of other teams have it way worse. So
exactly, that's sort of how the expansion draft works. Unless you had like a one-off horrible season, a la a Dallas, let's say.
Yeah,
Like the bad teams who are bad, it's low impact because they're bad, so
yeah.
it doesn't mean anything to them. Team like on the other end of the spectrum, Tampa, might hurt a little bit more, but they're still loaded, even if with who they end up losing, whoever that may be. So it's different impact for different teams, and that's why you'll see some of these deals happening behind closed doors to sort of protect their roster that they currently have, or the roster that they like. Exactly like what Toronto did, for example. Like they brought in Jared McCann to protect their roster. Whether you think that's the right decision, which means to save Kerfoot, that's what Toronto kind of went with.
So do you know the result of the Toronto pick?
Did they take Jared McCann?
Do you want to know? Actually, no.
Just say yes or no. Actually, no. Don't say anything. Well, I don't know. You do. You run the show. You run the show. You tell me what
for you the viewers. Do. For the viewers, some of them I've seen the chat. Some of them don't want any spoilers, so we won't spoil it quite yet. Although it's been all over Twitter. I really hope that that they announce all of the side deals. I know last year, or the Vegas expansion draft, I vaguely remember the details, and some of the side deals took a little bit of time to unfold, so it wasn't all necessarily announced live. I really hope that's not the case this year. They need to give us something to watch.
As long as this isn't 7 hours long, like the second day of the draft, I'm okay with that.
Oh, God, yeah. The second day of the draft was terrible. No, yeah, you guys are absolutely right in the chat. Evan does not look at Twitter. It's actually kind of amazing. It is like recording the show or watching or doing this live stream with someone who has completely buried their head in the sand all day. It makes for interesting streaming. Okay. So some other notable picks to be made around the league. Who is most striking your fancy here in terms of finding out what Seattle is going to do? I know there was St. Louis with the Tarasenko decision. Colorado, if Seattle could strike a deal with Landeskog and select him as a UFA. There was obviously the Carey Price decision in Montreal. Are there any that are real that you're really burning to know?
I think you did nail kind of what I was looking at. I was super interested to see what they did with Landeskog, but as the day has gone on today, well, up to when I turned off social media, nothing seemed to have progressed in terms of a contract between Seattle and Landeskog. So I feel like that didn't end up happening. In terms of other teams, I'm actually somewhat interested to know what will happen with Seattle and Tampa. Like you've got guys like Yanni Gord, Andre Palat, someone like Cal Foote exposed, who I think is going to be a bona fide top 4 D man at some point.
Hmm.
Just to name a few people on that team. What happens there? I'm very interested to see what happens.
Now let's talk about the actual leaks today. Um, Here's my take on it. A lot of people were getting mad at, Frank Saravalli. They were getting mad at Johnston. They were getting mad at whatever reporters were kind of letting things out. And I saw, some of them were doing radio hits and live shows where they had the information. They were kind of iffy on whether or not they wanted to put it out because it was very early. Like the list went in at 10, and by noon we knew like 28 of the 30 teams that were being picked from. But some of them were kind of holding on, and then it was Frank Saravalli who really started to open the floodgates, and then everyone kind of scrambled to get their content out. My take is that it's not on them. It is an insider, a reporter, a whatever's job to put those things out there. Like, quite frankly, if we got the scoop on the Red Wings pick before anyone else, understanding that it would piss some people off, we'd put it out there. Like, this is part of what we do. It is the NHL's job to make sure that these things don't get out. It is not necessarily even the teams or GMs. Like, I know we were making jokes all day, like Yzerman was the last one to hold his pick back. In all reality, it's the players or their agents. That's who moves this information around. But the NHL has to mitigate any opportunity for that happening, because they are going to do it no matter what. It is a reporter, is it a journalist? It's an insider's job to be doing these things. Oh my God. There's a comment in the chat that says, "Are you starting to bald, Ryan?" Yeah, I am,
Jesus
dude.
Christ.
Thank you for that. Jeez. God.
Holy shit. Get a hat
Yeah.
on this guy.
Oh, no kidding. Wow. You know what? I do pay a lot of
Couple more
attention to it.
couple more patrons and you can get some hair plugs.
Oh my
Do we
God.
need to make a separate tier for that?
Yeah, for real. That is the biggest hit to my ego in a long time. But no, like back to the point, it's a reporter's job to be doing these things, and they were never going to behave any differently than how they were today. And I don't use the word behaved like in a derogatory manner. Like, that's just how they operate. What the NHL should have done is said, literally 8 p.m. Eastern, this draft starts. Seattle will have someone from the league office in the back room with you to verify that your picks are squared away and legal, and you can actually make that pick per the rules. You go up and you announce it. Screw the show. Screw the pre-recorded Space Needle stuff, the throwing the fish at the fish market. I get it. It's fun. It's a whole production. But think of how many fewer viewers you have today because it's been ruined for people. Think of how many fewer people we have on this live stream today because it's been ruined for people. People have dedicated a lot of time and effort into putting together this hockey content. And this isn't like a woe is us thing. It's legitimately like it's for the betterment of the league. You should have made it
Like
live.
like I said to you and Brad in our group chat, I said this is such a classic. The NHL trying to do something right, and they just get in their own way time and time again. Like, what what if for example they made it? You had to select the first round picks had to be in by noon the day of,
Oh man.
and walking up on stage was just the pageantry of it. It didn't really change the outcome. Like, what if we found out that way just through a list that reporters got a hold of and provided that information to the public? Like, I don't know why they couldn't have just done it the old-fashioned way, where they go up and the picks are confirmed like 10 minutes or 15 minutes before they go on the air, and Seattle goes up there and does their thing. Like, it's
Yeah.
exciting, it's suspenseful, and it gets people eyes on the league. Like NBA's done now. Today would have been a perfect day to get some new fans to watch in, and it's just another one where they kind of tried to swing for a home run, and uh, I don't want to say it was a pop fly, but it definitely isn't a home run.
No, yeah.
We're still
It's
watching, for example, but there's no excitement really in it anymore. Well, there will be for me because I don't know anything. But for the vast majority of people who would have tuned in, like, there's no suspense, there's no real excitement to it anymore. We're just kind of going through the motion.
it's a little sad because this is going to be a lot of people's first exposure to the Kraken. Like, diehard hockey fans or people who are super involved. This won't be new. They'll have been involved with the team in some way. They'll have watched the jersey or the team name announcement. They'll follow them on Twitter or whatever it might be. But for a lot of casual hockey fans, for a lot of new hockey fans, for a lot of new Seattle hockey fans, this will be the first time they participate in it. So yeah, the luster's kind of taken off of it a little bit. The shine of the whole thing's kind of dulled down. But you know what? We're still here. We're here to have fun. There should be some good conversation to come from, at least avoiding the spoilers for you for the time being, and then taking in the side deals as well. So just a note for everyone who's here. I see. Thank you for all of you who have already, liked the video and everything like that. We really appreciate that. If you haven't already, please feel free to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. We have released a couple episodes since Sunday. The main one is the NHL 2021 NHL Draft preview episode. That came out last Sunday. That is a mega episode where we cover pretty much the entirety of what to expect for the Red Wings and for the league in the first round. Actually up to, we discussed some possible second round picks as well for Detroit. Overall draft strategy this year in general. It's our primer before the 2021 NHL Draft, which happens Friday. So if you haven't, before Friday, give that one a listen. We also had a show on a quick hit on Monday. It was discussing the expansion draft and the protection list, but also the Nick Leddy trade. So that one's worth giving a listen if you haven't yet. And when we wrap up today, we are going to record a post expansion draft recap. Not to say it's going to be an especially long episode. Might not be, but we want to get that out for you. And then Friday, of course, is our NHL draft round 1 live stream, one that we're very, very excited about. So that's what's on the docket. No, Brad didn't cut his finger. He wasn't sacrificing any limbs this time. He just was having a hard time escape. He was attacked by multiple ducks actually on the way home from work. An army of ducks have swarmed Brad, so he's fighting for his life currently at the moment with some mallards. All right, Evan. Your prediction was Troy Stecher. I think Brad's prediction was also Troy. Were all three of our predictions coming into today Troy Stecher?
I know Brad's was for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure you also picked that just based on simple logic.
I want to have so many discussions with you based on the way the day unfolded. Detroit's was the last pick to leak. Like, Detroit was team 30 and by like hours away from everyone else. It only really dropped a few hours ago. So, Ducks players are quack Ducks. It's quack Ducks actually. It is funny that apparently the reason that player leaked so late was because Seattle couldn't actually get in contact with him the whole day. But the way things were shaping up, it really guided me into thinking it was one specific player with the way the positions were kind of coming along. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
The other one I'm interested in knowing is the Islanders. Since we were talking about Detroit leaking last, tight lips around the organization. I figured the Islanders would be in a similar boat, and then I remembered their expansion protection list, and they protected Matt Merton of all people, leaving people like Josh Bailey and Jordan Eberle exposed. So I'm somewhat interested in knowing what happens there as well. I don't understand. Who in their right mind would take Matt Martin, 32-year-old fourth liner who makes little to no money and has small offensive upside?
Well, I mean, the Rangers would probably get Seattle to trade him to them so they have someone to fight Tom Wilson. Because Tom
True.
Wilson, just no matter what you think about the incident between Tom Wilson and the Rangers, he now very firmly lives in the Rangers' heads, and they think that they need someone to address it. Yeah, I don't understand the protecting Martin thing. That to me, Lou is such a funny GM, right? Like, he has seen resounding success pretty much everywhere he's gone. Maybe not Toronto, but some of the moves he makes, I'm like, it's just so inconsistent from a GM who wins and wins often. But then again, I mean, he did well in the trade with the Red Wings, and that's not something that a lot of GMs across the league can say. Lou
He
Lamorielle's an
certainly
enigma.
likes to do his own thing, right? Like he doesn't, really cater to what other people are doing. Like when he has a plan, he executes upon it without deviating much from it. So he he does his own thing, that's for sure, whether you agree with some of the moves or not.
Here we go, Brad. You made it, buddy. For context, we are not doing spoilers. Evan doesn't know what happened yet, and neither does. Neither do a lot of people in the chat. Actually, you are
Oh,
currently on.
I found the chat in this program we're using. I can't
No,
open it though.
no, you certainly should it. Brad, you are currently muted, pal.
I don't see Brad at all.
He's working on it. All right, as Brad figures that out, let's actually get this arranged. Evan, why don't you take over for a bit while I message Brad some instructions here?
Yeah, I don't see him, so just a classic boomer not understanding technology. Just looking at some of the other teams that have some interesting players exposed.
So you, of the two Islanders players who were exposed, who would you take if you were?
I'd be taking Jordan Eberle for sure.
Is that like a
Easy
steal in
pick
your
for me.
mind?
Yes. I mean, he's 31. I don't know. Jared Bruckheimer's rich as shit, so that's $5.5 million for a Jordan Eberle. I think they got him under contract for a few more years. It seems like a no-brainer pick to me. Could also understand a Josh Bailey pick, same age as Jordan Eberle, but I don't know. Eberle would just be my pick.
Eberle would be a solid pick. I'm trying to think of what other teams had. Knowing the players who were selected, I'm trying to think of what other teams had like interesting expansion lists. All right, why don't we try?
Montreal was somewhat interesting, obviously, because of the Carey Price situation. I don't know who they ended up taking, obviously, but there's guys like Thomas Tatar is available, Jonathan Drouin, even though I'm not really too sure what his situation is right now.
Right.
My guess, or the pick I made in the fantasy predictor tool that someone sent out, I picked Brett Kulak, but also interested to see what Montreal does.
So again, Evan's prediction for the Red Wings was Stetcher. That was also his worst case scenario. He said Nemesnikov. We are going to just throw this back to Evan. Evan, why don't you pull up some other teams' kind of protection lists and we'll go through a few of like the more notable ones. I think St. Louis is also another good one because they have the Tarasenko Dunn situation.
Yeah, so when I was going through them, who I would take if I was Seattle, I took Vince Dunn. He's 24 years old. What's his contract? 1.8 million bucks. He's RFA, so you get a little bit of team control there. And he's a good player, so it seems easy to me. Like Tarasenko's a UFA. He does want out of St. Louis, but there's no guarantee he's going to want to sign in Seattle. So you do take a little bit of a risk, I think, with Vince Dunn sitting there. It's the easiest pick in my mind.
There are some teams where it's like almost better off to not take anyone at all. You just basically want to take the lowest cap hit player, or the obvious solution there. Like Nashville left, like there was players like Duchesne left exposed. There's players where they're obviously trying to get them to take major contracts, and I just don't know if Seattle's going to be cheaping out like that, or giving teams an easy way out like that. I should say it's actually the opposite of cheaping out.
Yeah, the one team that I'm not sure on, but I'm sure Brad Rainman has a very strong opinion on it. I'm interested what happened to see what happened with Boston. Like they left Krejci unprotected, but he's a UFA, so I'm sure he'll be right back in Boston. Obviously Taylor Hall's not protected, but they're getting a deal worked out there. The guys that I kind of earmarked were like Andre Kasha, Nick Ritchie, Connor Clifton. Those were sort of the three that I saw that stuck out. But nobody there really, stands out to me as someone you'd want to take from Boston. So they're another one of those teams. Like, I mean, you could take Curtis Lazar, and he can play fill your center depth a little bit. But there's not really anybody there on Boston that I'm, head over heels about.
Let's pull up the actual list from Seattle because I was trying to see if I could kind of walk you through a little bit of the conversation without spoiling too much. We are 3 minutes away from showtime here. Brad is still just trying to figure out his audio. Do you have the stream actually pulled up, Evan, so you can watch?
I do. I have the TV channel on.
Awesome. Okay, why don't we chat a little bit about... So Washington is another team where I think there's an interesting pick here from Seattle. So looking at that expansion list, do you have that list handy?
Yes, I do. I'm just taking a quick look at it because I can't remember who I picked. Oh, I took Vitek Vanacek as I think the third goalie to fulfill the expansion requirements. Carl Hagelin was one guy I kind of thought maybe, but his game isn't nearly as good as what it used to be. I don't know who sticks out to you. Like maybe a Connor Sheary, but I haven't really liked his game a whole ton since he went over to Washington.
I think Vanacek is the obvious choice here.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other guy, I think the other guy I was kind of flip flopping with was Brendan Dillon. Like fairly cheap, good defensive defenseman, but I don't know. There wasn't really anybody who jumped out to me.
Yeah.
I don't know much about Vanacek, to be honest.
The goalie situation is interesting, right? Everyone was saying it would be Carey Price or it might be Carey Price. But for me, when you can have Drieger and when you can have Vanacek and probably like Kakinen from Minnesota, that is an excellent goalie core. And you're not spending nearly as much, right?
I think those were the three that I took when I did the one draft. Those were the three I took. Like I'm sure they'll give a good look to someone like Braden Holtby, for example. But he's a little bit older, bigger cap hit, so it's not really, and I'm not too sure where his game is right now. So it's a little bit of a risk there. I can't remember who I took for Vancouver, but yeah, that's a solid three for Seattle to start off with.
And there's always a discussion, like when we were talking about the Carey Price thing, teams were asking about and we have Brad trying to come in here. So Brad might just be miming for this guys until we get the audio figured out. We were discussing Seattle. Are they going to try to be a Vegas-like team in which, they spend to the cap and they try to compete the first year, or are they going to accept that that's probably lightning isn't going to strike twice that way? They're going to try to basically maintain their long-term sustainability and save the cap space, which is a massive asset, and garner as many picks and young players as possible.
They might end up in the playoffs regardless of what they want. So
that Pacific Division's not great, huh?
It's a little weak, so they can kind of do both. they don't have to spend to the cap to see success. Like, who's in there? Vegas, Edmonton.
Edmonton, who's looking at, Zach Hyman, possibly on an 8-year deal. Apparently, they're exploring the opportunity of a sign-in trade with Toronto. So Toronto signs him, and then they trade him so they can get the full 8 years, which would presumably bring the AAV down. Which is, what they did with Nugent Hopkins. They got 8 years, and so they came in as a cheaper contract.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, who do you like? I don't know what the roster is looking like for Seattle, but they're not going to be better than Vegas. I don't even know what the hell Edmonton's doing right now. So I'll tentatively say they won't be better than Edmonton because Edmonton still has a McDavid and a Draisaitl for now. Can they be better than Vancouver? I wouldn't totally rule that out. Like they could push for a playoff spot in their first year. So really, all options are available right now. Like I don't think. Oh, there's Gary. There he is.
Gary's up on the stage. It's a really cool setup that Seattle has. Love the logo. Love the jerseys. Gary's got to feel so pissed off that this was ruined today. I wonder if he's going to act
super hot there.
Yeah, it actually does. I wonder if he's going to mention anything about the entire team leaking ahead of time. I don't have.
Oh, we're about to find out.
Yeah. Seattle expansion draft is beginning. Let's tune in and see what Gary Bettman has to say. Said very few people ever. I have to say it's really cool for Seattle fans.
They already booed Gary, so that's great.
Good for them. They did better than Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay hardly booed him when he did the cup presentation. That is
There's rules.
Yeah, that is your duty as a cup-winning team. It doesn't matter how much you like him. I don't hate the guy as much as most people do, but I would still boo him given the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I also wonder how much of a production that they're going to make of this now. They're not going to shorten the thing because the whole thing.
Just said today, Todd Leiweke. I think it's Tim Leiweke who runs the organization because he ran Toronto FC. Oops.
Oopsies. Oh man. Loving the obligatory booing. All right. Anybody in the chat who is going currently spoiler free, what is your final prediction for the Red Wings? And maybe don't look at the chat as you're typing it. Just hit enter and then look away. So.
Oh, the stupid Sportsnet's got this stuff coming up at the bottom right now. I have to move away and not look.
Dude, you are trying way too hard. I don't know how you're going to sustain this. I'm impressed. It's good for you for going spoiler free, but at the same time, it's just too much effort. It is far too much effort. Brad is currently working on some device issues. He's going to try to join back in. Don't worry. For the weirdo Brad fans, you won't be completely devoid of Brad content today. So, from my understanding, they're going to be announcing from different locations. There's one in a fish market. There's one at the Space Needle. They're going to be just doing stuff all over with Marshawn Lynch is going to be there. A bunch of Seattle celebrities. Should be pretty cool. It would have been cooler had we not known beforehand, but yeah. I've seen some.
Dominic Moore's got some hair issues too.
Oh look, man, he's doing his best. Not everyone's born like you. Oh man, that is absolutely my future right there. 100%. I can't believe that. Oh jeez. If they go in alphabetical order, that would be great because then we can further discuss the Red Wings pick more on the stream. If they actually announce the Red Wings close to the end, Evan, I'm not sure we're not going to spoil this for you. Hate to break it to you. So the volume's low on my end. What are they kind of walking through right now?
It's awful. The NHL Network guys are introducing the.
Okay, can you hear me now? I'm going to my phone.
Brad Crisco, you are going
to.
It
worked this time.
Brad,
you are speaking for the next hour. Okay, everyone figured out Brad's audio. He is here on the stream. Brad, Evan is going spoiler free. A lot of the chat is currently going spoiler free.
Well, that's dumb as hell.
A lot of people are saying Brad's going to come on here and immediately spoil this for Evan.
Oh yeah.
So if we're not spoiling, what the fuck have you guys been talking about for the last 35 minutes?
Buying time until you can get you.
Hey, we're professionals. We figure it out.
All right, Brad.
I have a book that I've used to cover the bottom of my monitor, so I can no longer see the feed of news that's been trying to ruin the surprise for me.
Yeah, Evan has been trying to avoid it, and then immediately the Sportsnet ticker has been popping up with all of the the team announcements. Okay. So
my favorite part is the people who are obviously trying to spoil it in the chat for Evan, knowing fully well that he's not looking at it.
Well, yeah. Highlight of the chat early on, actually, Brad, was someone saying, "Ryan, are you balding?" And so that was a punch that I didn't need today. No, I'm kidding, Isaac. You're all good. Brad's silence. Evan was on a roll. Okay, Brad, without spoiling anything in specific, of the Red Wings' most realistic candidates to be selected, so we're not talking Franz Nielsen here, what in your mind, before you knew what happened, was the best case scenario for the Red Wings, and what was the worst case scenario for the Red Wings?
Best case was Nemesnikov, worst case was Stetcher.
I think that's what we came up with.
Yeah, and we all kind of agreed as well that Stetcher was going to be the most likely candidate, just with varying degrees of certainty, right?
Yeah,
As of last episode.
Analytics darling to an analytics team who shoots right, plays D. What every team needs someone like him.
All right. Well, they're gonna start.
Brad, can you see me right now?
No, I can't. I can only see Ryan.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
That's great. Kevin Weeks. Kevin Weeks was the one in the fish market with the. Did you guys see the fish toss and then they yelled Kerfoot? Apparently that was the leaked video, but it was like one of many takes.
Oh no.
Yeah, fish market hockey Twitter was wild yesterday. All right. For everyone who's tuning in, thank you very much. Appreciate you guys joining us. It's obviously a little bit of a weird expansion draft where, spoiled for quite a few people, but nearly 500 of you here, 460 of you here now. So thank you all so much for tuning in. If you haven't yet, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. That would mean a lot to us as well. Again, Friday is our first round NHL draft live stream. That is the big one, and be sure to listen to the NHL draft preview episode. That is the mega episode that is a complete and total primer for Friday's draft. So we're just watching Seattle get ready to pick here. I love coming on national television with like your shirt, your polo unbuttoned, and the gold chain showing up.
It's a tough look.
Yeah,
it's a tough look.
Ron Francis, that is a classic GM not giving a shit right there.
Yes.
Whether we'll be in studio for the draft on Friday remains to be seen. That might still be recorded this way, but we're going to be back in studio really soon for episodes. So stay tuned for that. Oh, man. The merch for the Kraken's actually been really hard to come by. I've been trying to find some, but it's not really easy to buy quite yet.
I'm literally overflowing with Kraken merch at my store. You have not looked very hard.
Really?
Yeah, everything but jerseys. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, toques, whatever you want. They sent us 1 billion.
I think it might just be because I'm looking for the jerseys, actually. Have you guys seen the...
September 15th, they're releasing those, which, why would you want people buying your merch ahead of time? Let's wait until less than a month before the season to start selling jerseys. It's insane to me.
Of course. Yeah, how could they get all those jerseys prepped in time? They very clearly have nothing else in order. Just kidding.
Oh, they're doing Atlantic alphabetical order, so we'll get to Detroit very quickly.
Okay, then we can start having the argument.
They took Jeremy Lazon.
Spoilers. Evan's the one spoiling for me.
Am I
There
ahead of
was
you?
nobody. There was no great options from Boston. They were going to take someone like this no matter what. And Boston fans don't seem to hate Lozon, so probably about as good as Seattle could have done here, unless you wanted to take a safer, older bet like a Nick Ritchie. Not that Nick Ritchie's super old, but
Honestly, it speaks to how well constructed Boston is. Like, that is pretty much a cup competitor right there, who's not losing an extremely good player. So that's kind of a sweet spot for them. They got pretty lucky. I think this theme of this is going to be defense. Ron Francis loves his defense. That's kind of been what people have been hinting towards the entire time. So I think a lot of the default picks are going to go defense here. So we have Jeremy Lozon from the Boston Bruins. And you said they're going in order of the Atlantic. So I guess they're not cutting to a different area every time, which will be good. So this thing won't take 10 hours here. All right, Evan, next team. What's your prediction?
Boston, then so who's next? Buffalo? Buffalo.
Jack
Give me a
Eichel, I
second.
forgot to protect him.
Oh, yeah. Let's do process of elimination. Kyle Okposo is not getting taken. Honestly? Can they skip taking someone from Buffalo?
They will at some point. Like, they're going to be taking...
without any kind of a spoiler for Evan, without any spoilers for Evan, I'm going to save you some brain thinking. You have never heard of the guy they are about to take, so don't overthink it, big guy.
So it's not Jeff Skinner.
Can you imagine?
So there's my answer. I have no idea.
Well, it's on the screen.
William Borgen. Oh, wait. Is that who it was? Oh, that's who I guessed.
Yeah. Borgen. Buffalo fans weren't too thrilled about this one. I know they liked Borgen. Surprising enough, good defender. Someone that they would have preferred to keep. Which
the happiest person about this is Will Borgen, so he doesn't have to play in Buffalo.
Yeah, no kidding.
His was the best leak because he leaked it on his own Instagram story.
Did he actually?
Yeah, he put, I think in his, I don't know if it actually happened, but I saw a screen cap on Twitter of his Instagram story where he just put Seattle bound. Could have been a fake account for all I know, but I wasn't invested enough to give that much of a shit.
Are they showing the octopus before the Detroit pick?
Oh, no way. That's best case scenario. Well, one of the best case scenarios.
You saw what happened. Oh, they had the octopus release it. It's Dennis Cholowski. Finally, I can stop pretending we didn't know.
When this got leaked today, is the one thing I learned is a lot of the fan base is still very much in the Ken Holland mentality. That was what I learned. Because to me, this was second worst case scenario.
No,
Stetcher being this one. Who else would you have rather have than picked?
Okay, you know what? I actually agree. Second worst case scenario, but I actually think Stetcher would have been the only situation here where I would have been super bummed out.
The true winner of this is Dennis Cholowski, because I've been on record and I will continue to say the reason he has not been more successful at the NHL level is not because of Dennis Cholowski. It's because of how badly the Red Wings bungled his development path. They rushed him to the NHL. That didn't work. They sent him to the AHL. He wasn't ready at the end of the season. They brought him up to the NHL to start the next season again, sent him back down to the AHL. If he wasn't ready, he wasn't ready. I get that the team was thin at defense, and if you wanted him to learn at the NHL level, keep him at the NHL level. If you wanted to learn at the AHL level, keep him at the AHL level. And then they were telling him to be more assertive, but then trying to have him take less risks, which is an oxymoron.
Well, you know what? First of all, I don't disagree that they had a lot of bad personnel decisions with Cholowski. I think very quickly his confidence was shot, and that was hard for a player who had to do one thing to bring his play to NHL level, and that was fix his defensive warts. And when I say warts, I mean warts. His defensive game sucked. Not just in general, I mean mistakes that caused a goal a lot of times. And it wasn't just in Detroit, it was in Grand Rapids. That kind of thing is hard to do when you don't have confidence or you don't feel like the team has confidence in you, or both of those things. And I agree, Brad. I don't think that the Red Wings handled him well. That was going back, to Ken Holland, and went again when Steve Yzerman took over. That's just kind of been the situation. I don't agree fully with how Jeff Blashill's done it, but at some point the onus is on the player to take those steps. He's 23. He's still young. I think he can go to Seattle. I think he can get a fresh start. I think he can be in a new system that maybe utilizes him differently, or it just might be new faces and being in a new environment, and he could still pan out. The guy's great on offense. He has a lot of offensive potential. You speak to this all the time, Brad. The guy can probably drive a power play unit and bring a lot of offense from the blue line, but when you're a liability on defense, which is what I think Dennis Cholowski is at this point, it's shitty. Could things have gone differently? Yeah, absolutely. I think absolutely it could have gone differently. But the fact of the matter is, it is where we are now, and I don't know if it was ever going to work out for him in Detroit. I'm not going to say it's never going to work out. I think there's a chance it does in Seattle. I just don't know if Detroit was the place where it was going to happen.
No, he had the worst development path under the worst system with the worst coach imaginable for his skill set. Like, Cholowski to me is the biggest argument for the Blashill truthers who say, but he's such a good development and defensive coach. You telling me he couldn't have improved either of those things in Cholowski, that after 3 years, Cholowski's defensive game was still this bad? Like, and yet he was not allowed to properly utilize his offensive potential. So if Cholowski is always going to be rough defensively, that's fine. There's lots of NHL defensemen who are rough defensively but good offensively, and their coach makes it work for them through deployment, yada, yada, yada. That obviously wasn't going to get me happen here. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the Red Wings losing Cholowski derails everything. He was never, ever going to reach his ceiling here, and I get that. But yeah, it was just... It's this same old mentality of everybody who comes to Detroit that is gifted offensively and struggles defensively. The team, the fan base, and the coaching staff gives up on them quickly. Like, it is a never-ending cycle. And
I don't know that that's fair, honestly. Like,
it's happening.
It's happening with who?
Like, I'm like, no offense. Like, I like the player. Don't get me wrong. Like, Gustav Lindstrom is the perfect example for me of this mentality on the other end. Gustav Lindstrom is a fine hockey player. He is a defensively responsible bottom pairing defenseman with absolutely no offensive upside. Why is that valuable? We signed a version of him in John Merrill for $900,000, who John Merrill right now is probably better than Gustav Lindstrom will ever be. Yet we not wasted, but we used the protection slot on Lindstrom. The fan base is hyped for him, and don't get me wrong, fine player, but I don't know why. Like, he's the exact type of player you can get $1 billion of at any given point in the NHL for nothing. So I'm not saying Cholowski is ever going to reach his ceiling, but his ceiling is significantly higher than Lindstrom's. Less likely to reach there before all the people come in and misinterpret what I say every time I say this. I understand he's a longer shot, but his ceiling is higher.
Such a bad day at work.
I've had such a bad day in general. The thing that makes me the most happy about Cholowski getting picked by Seattle is I don't have to have these conversations anymore. I defend a guy. People say I'm his ultimate stand just because I still have faith in the guy. I'm happy it's over. I'm happy for Dennis, and I can't wait for this fan base to get out of the Holland era.
That second point I think is a good point. I think what we're seeing a lot of right now, whether it's through the expansion draft, whether it's through waivers, whether it's through not qualifying players in the prospect pool, Yzerman is sifting through the prospect pool that he didn't draft quickly every year. The players that he doesn't believe fit in the system, he's getting rid of them. I understand what you're saying about Cholowski's ceiling. I just think that there's there's a crux there, right? Like there's a point where the floor can be pulled out beneath him, and it doesn't really matter to a certain degree how good he is offensively. If he's a liability defensively, even in the most basic ways, Would I have protected Lindstrom out of him, Cholowski, and Stetcher? No. Lindstrom would have been third on my list. But at some point, I think Yzerman just didn't care. I really don't quite understand the thinking on not protecting Stetcher because I think he's more valuable as a piece you're going to move. But maybe they had intel that Lindstrom was more likely to be taken than Stetcher, right? So by protecting Lindstrom, they guarantee that they're not going to lose someone who they want. And if he was going to give up on Cholowski regardless, then that was that. In my mind, it's not a perfectly black and white scenario. Yeah, like I mentioned just now, the development was messed up, of course, but the onus does fall on the player at some point. And, you know, you talk about reaching a ceiling. I just don't know that it's some kind of linear path if he couldn't bring his defensive game up to a point where it was reliable enough. Still, like, I'm not trying to trash the guy on the way out the door. I think Seattle might have a great find here. Yeah, I mean, if he pans out, he could work out well there. I'm not going to bet a ton of money on that, but it was a complicated situation that was only made worse by a fuzzy, at best, development path for him. So,
well, the
way
ultimate
easier. We could have just protected Jacob Chikrin and not even have had to have this conversation.
Yeah,
man.
let's not go back down that path. I'm not mentally ready to reevaluate that trade. But I know for a fact there's at least one person on the face of the earth who agrees with me about Cholowski. Ron Francis. He passed over Troy Stetcher.
Macklemore. What a beauty.
Sorry, Macklemore?
He actually has his own golf line of clothes. What did I say? Golf line of clothes? Yeah. Clothing line?
Yeah, golf clothes of line, sure. Macklemore, that's hysterical. That guy looks like a skinny Dwayne The Rock Johnson, actually, that was in the crowd there.
Okay, hold on. I'm addressing this comment because I'm driving it nuts. Cholo did nothing. Like, he had his moments. He was never consistent. Don't get me wrong. But when he was on, he was good. He had dynamic moments in the offensive zone. He scored goals. He set up plays. And then you could see his confidence tank and his game change for the worse. If he had been developed properly from day one, he would not be the player he is now. Like, you can't tell me you watched 3 years of Dennis Cholowski and didn't see what I'm talking about. If you did, if you didn't, I don't know what to tell you. Like, yeah, his defensive game, no arguments here. None. Zero. I agree. But the offense, you can't tell me there wasn't something there and you didn't see at least some of what I saw.
Man, Dennis Cholowski is going to be a nobody in the NHL at this point. Like, I don't think he's going to move the needle for Seattle.
Probably not. It's probably too late for him, honestly. I agree with that. There's a chance. There's a decent chance. He's in a better system now with a team that's probably going to be better suited to his strengths. Yeah, he's on the older side now, so it's a long shot, but
23.
It could happen.
I mean,
to be fair, though, based on the picks Seattle's made so far, they are not going to be that good of a team unless there is a lot of trades coming through the hopper tomorrow. So he's
kind of surprised they took Decord from Ottawa. I thought for sure Chris Tierney was going to be the pick there.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by Decord as well, especially considering the news that they were close to signing Chris Drieger and, you know, some other goalie picks that they had available to them. But again, it could just be depth, right? Like, they have a farm system to build out. They have an AHL team. Yanni Gourde from Tampa Bay, that's going to be one of their best players right there. That is a great player.
Yeah, that seemed like an obvious pick to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they already did Hayden Fleury from Montreal, correct?
Yeah.
Cale
they did
Fleury
Cale Fleury.
Sorry. I mixed up all the Fleuries.
So it makes me think they're going to take Hayden Fleury from Anaheim when we get to it.
A point I have about Troy Stetcher, I know some people, like a lot of people love Troy Stetcher. I personally think, you know, aside from Troy Stetcher's little bout with injury this year where his play really fell off, he is an incredibly useful player for the Red Wings. The value in Troy Stetcher comes from, in all honesty, his trade value. I would not be surprised to see him moved this year. I also wouldn't be surprised to see him extended and held on to for another 2 to 3 years and then being used as trade bait for those years as well. That was my primary reason wanting to protect Troy Stetcher. I think he's someone who could be moved for assets down the road. You know, if this is going to be a team that's going to be spending a second-round pick to bring in guys like Nick Leddy, you want the ability to kind of recoup those picks whenever you can, right? So Oh, here's the Toronto Fish throwing pick. This is funny. I can't believe the other take is the one that aired.
I can't believe Toronto traded a prospect for Jared McCann just to lose him in order to protect Justin Holl. What happened to Dubas 6 months ago that he just completely abandoned everything he believed in? Like trading for overpaying for Nick Foligno at the deadline for veteran presence and grit, and then goes 4-4 protection system just so he doesn't lose Justin Holl, but then risks losing Jared McCann or Alex Kerfoot instead. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
I don't think it's the end of the world. Like, I get the thinking, but man, Jared McCann was a great get for Toronto. Keep him. Like, I don't understand why you went 4-4.
A better version of Kerfoot, essentially.
Yeah,
he's
like
way better than Kerfoot. He's like, light years better than Kerfoot.
I think they've been hurt by defense so much before. Now that when they have one that's half decent, they don't want to get rid of him. And it's not shitting on Hull. Like, I think Hull's a good defenseman. But altogether, I think the impact in the team, keep McCann.
He's also 28 or 29. Like, Hull's not young. Like, I don't get it. Like, they could have kept McCann and Kerfoot. Just go to the 7-3 protection system. Yeah, you lose Justin Holl. Who cares? Life goes on. They have Liljegren still in the AHL.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, are they super low on Liljegren and Rasmus Sandin that they need to protect Justin Holl? It is confusing to me.
Like, a lot of teams did some really weird things, but a lot of what Seattle did was even weirder and bailed them out. So, you know.
A good note here from Joseph saying Decord is waiver exempt, able to move up and down without a problem. So that probably factors into things quite well.
For sure.
So,
also, Ottawa had no one else worth taking.
For me, the Dubas seems like he's being pulled in a lot of different directions and has lost a little bit of his confidence. It's like every time Toronto fails, he feels like he has to capitulate to a different group. Sometimes it's the people saying that they need to be tougher. Sometimes it's the people who say that they need to focus on defense. Sometimes it's people who say they really need a goalie or they need a deadline acquisition. And not to say any of those groups are wrong, but he almost has he's lost a lot of consistency in his decision making. And that's not to say just because you disagree with the decision making it's wrong, but I don't know. I for someone who's described as pretty shrewd and analytical, and not just like in hockey analytics, I mean like actually like analytical as a way of thinking, I don't really agree with the decision to let McCann go. At the end of the day, what he thinks is he let go a B-level prospect in a 7th to protect his team. And I get that. I mean, if they go around and win a cup and Kerfoot and or Hall are important in that playoff run, then yeah, it's worth it. But is it the most egregious move in the world? No. Do I agree with it? No, not really. It's kind of bizarre to me. So.
Yep.
Oh man,
it's kind of weird. They're just throwing around Fish in the middle of. Yeah, I guess so.
I like that they're picking like Fish as more of like an identity, and when they do the Kraken thing, it's a little bit more squid-like. It's the stupidest thing in the world, but I'm happy that it's not more octopus because I don't want Detroit to lose that.
Yeah, I don't want to have to get into an argument, mind you. If they decide to go down this fight or down this road, I'm ready for the fight and the battle and for them to become Detroit's ultimate enemy. I'm ready for it.
It's Cephalopod Bowl, man. That's what it's all about. Okay, so we're done the Atlantic Division. Still to come is the Metro, the Central, and the Pacific. So of Lauzon, Borgen, Stetcher, Drieger, Fleury, Decord, Gourde, and McCann. Any one of those...
Cholowski, you mean?
Yeah, I said Stetcher. Cholowski. Which one of those outside of Cholowski was the biggest surprise for you, and what was the biggest get for Seattle in your mind?
Jared McCann? Yanni Gourde? Those are probably the two biggest gets.
McCann wasn't the shock in terms of who was available, but yeah.
The biggest get was Gourde. Obviously, I would say the biggest surprise was Cholowski because I can't believe Seattle passed on Stetcher, especially considering they're an analytics team. He's the analytics darling. That surprised the hell out of me.
Yes, another GM making a their first time mistake. This is what we need. We need GMs to be making mistakes that aren't ours.
Yeah, for real. Oh man, Evan, I just saw an old message that you sent me from when I was at the cottage about the concrete.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that too.
No, we have no experience in that. So
Okay,
yeah,
no problem.
They haven't been announcing deals yet, eh? Like there's nothing that's come up about any kind of trade so far.
I heard that gets lifted tomorrow at 1 p.m.
You know, it's a little bit frustrating. I'm not blaming the reporters. I don't think it's the reporters' fault. We mentioned this before, Brad. It's the NHL creating a system in which obviously everything was going to be leaked and then having a show where it's no longer interesting to watch because of said leaks. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, I have two concerns. One, I already know the whole team, so this isn't interesting to me. Two, we're a half hour in and they've only got through one division. My concern is growing on the timeline here.
They best get through the rest of this pretty quickly.
And it's driving me nuts too, because there's so many things I want to talk about Seattle as a whole that I can't yet.
Well,
who the hell would want to sit around outside for 2 hours listening to a presentation that you already know the answers to?
Well, a lot of the fans in Seattle might not. Like, they've probably had all-day events here, right? So probably a lot of them don't quite know. This is really for the fans in Seattle more than anything. But, yeah, in terms of people watching, they've lost a lot of listeners.
Oh, yeah. If we weren't live streaming this, there'd be a 0% chance I'd be watching this right now, honestly.
I mean, if we weren't live,
me too.
We're going to be recording a post-expansion draft episode after this, and that's going to be primarily what we're doing tonight.
At midnight, thanks to this broadcast.
So which division are we moving on to now?
I don't know. Wait, they didn't take Jake Bean?
No,
y'all
sleeping on Morgan Geeky.
Yeah, but
on Morgan Geeky
over Jake Bean though.
I've never even heard of this person.
I can tell you why, but I can't spoil the rest of it.
Okay, Brad, don't ruin it then.
This is why I hate the leaks, because when I look at this, Seattle as a team, I can explain this, but I can't right now.
Well, you need to go through it chronologically then. Right now, it is a shock.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think it's that much of a shock. Geeky's been productive in his stints in the NHL, and he had a strong track record in junior and the AHL. He's not
I don't even know who he is.
That doesn't surprise me, but he's a legit good player.
Yeah, Evan.
I also don't know who this guy is.
This is the one that made the least sense because he's a pending UFA and he's terrible. This has to be a side deal. There's no way this isn't a side deal. They passed on Max Domi to take. Yeah. 1,000%. They took a terrible defenseman who's a pending UFA and didn't take Max Domi. I will bet money there's a side deal coming there.
Well, it could also be that they didn't want to take Max Domi's money. Right, and they just wanted to basically skip the pick, so they selected someone that they can just dump right away.
This would be, if there's no side deal, this is literally the equivalent of just going pass. No, thank you.
I think that might be what's happening here. I know some people reported that there wasn't a side deal. I don't know if that's confirmed.
So I don't think this is a spoiler. Almost every team reporter seemed to report that there was no side deal today, yet there was national reporters saying there's many side deals coming. So I don't know which is true.
Yeah, I'm really interested to know. Oh my
God. I don't understand what Seattle's doing at all with these past 3 picks.
Yeah, Nathan Bastian from New Jersey. So far they took more.
He was another person I 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I literally was talking to him.
You didn't even tell us about it. What does that say about him?
Look, Evan, he's from Kitchener, Ontario. Come on, man. You should know this guy.
Nope. Never heard of him.
Brad, Evan didn't know Morgan Geekie. Do you think he's going to go know Nathan Bastian?
I will act, given his age and what I know about Nathan locally, I will bet money there's been a time Evan and Nathan have been on the ice together.
Probably, yeah.
So we're up to the New York Islanders, which we said was going to be an interesting pick based on who they had exposed. I know this, Evan, this is one that we were talking about earlier.
They're moving faster, which is the true win to this.
Honestly.
Just wait until they take an hour a pick for the Pacific Division. I'm happy they got the fish toss out of the way. That dude who posted the video on Twitter has a lot to answer for. Did you see he tried to get Seattle to give him a jersey?
No, I wasn't on Twitter today.
No, I know. What day are you on Twitter?
Jordan Eberle, I got one.
Yeah, Jordan Eberle. I think that's a really good get for Seattle.
Oh, he's there. Man, Jordan Eberle gets to go from Edmonton, which is basically a hole in the earth, to living in Seattle.
That's a great deal for him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was just in New York, or on Long Island, I should say. But obviously.
Oh, what am I talking about? He gets to go from the Long Island. Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did start out in Edmonton, so there's that.
Oh, what year is it?
Those jerseys are clean, man. I love those. The teal.
Yeah, they're cool.
Great. I like the S. I still think they could have got away with either just the anchor as the primary logo, or someone did a render with the S around the anchor. I thought that would have been cool.
Well, if I know anything about the NHL, they'll have like 6 alternate jerseys in the first 5 years.
I hope so. Better than having no alternate jerseys forever.
So if Vegas is alternate with dark gold, these will be bright orange, right?
Yeah, something like that. Well,
hopefully they get them in an outdoor game or something soon, so that they can do an outdoor jersey.
I don't know if they'll do reverse retro again next year, but all right. So we have Geekie, Bayreuther, Bastian, Eberle. Next up from the New York Rangers, and then Philadelphia Flyers, Pittsburgh, and then Washington for the rest of the Metropolitan. And then we'll be halfway there, so we'll see how long they take to kind of get through that. Again, guys, we're going to be recording an episode of this right after it's done. Evan, they want to know where Fred is. There's no cat.
Catherine is now home, so Fred is locked out of the office for now.
All right, let's take some questions from the chat. The chat's a little bit delayed, but if you guys have questions, feel free to add them in here, and we'll start taking those questions as things go along. They could be based on the expansion draft. They could be based on Dennis Cholowski being taken. They could be draft related while we're all here. Yeah, it'll be about 1 a.m. when we start recording, Peter. Something like that. The crest on the away jersey was pretty huge, eh?
Yeah, I'm looking at a still image of it now. It's substantial.
Do you think that's an actual jersey or just for like presentation? No, they would use the actual jersey.
Oh, that's an actual jersey. I like it. Like, I like this jersey a lot. This is a top 10 jersey in the league.
There's one stunt. It's not my favorite, but I think about it a lot. Is where they throw a football in the wake of a jet engine and stand behind it and just get nailed by the footballs. That one's funny as hell.
The high five always.
Over under 10 trades with Seattle.
Under.
What do you think, Evan?
Oh, I think under as well. Man, I'm surprised they didn't take that D'Angelo player who was exposed.
Yeah, they took Colin Blackwell. Well, D'Angelo's bought out for the purpose of termination, right?
Yeah.
Something like
Has that happened yet?
I'm not sure. Which path do you guys think Seattle goes? Tank being bad. Oh, wow. What happened there? I accidentally put that on the screen.
We'll talk about that later because I have an opinion on that, but we got to see the whole roster first.
At first glance, I'm not ultra thrilled about this roster.
Well, That seems to be the trend. So tank and being bad over these next 2 years because of the draft, or do you think they just go for it because of their weak division? No matter how the draft is going to go, it's important to remember that they're probably going to be better than people think. And a lot of times they have an opportunity to take players who are in reduced roles on other teams and give them a bigger opportunity, like Vegas. So
Did you just see that boat that was spraying water into the ocean?
yeah,
with
you have to
hoses.
Yeah, you have to put the keep the water wet. You know
Gotta
nothing about ocean maintenance.
gotta water
Evan?
your ocean.
Yeah, it's like your lawn.
Yeah, it's a water cycle.
Where does Dennis sit on the defensive depth chart over there? Well, we'll have to wait so we don't spoil the whole thing. This is the custom table that is in the studio that you guys are seeing here. It does light up. We'll be back around it really soon, so you guys will be seeing it on YouTube videos of the podcast. What UFAs do we see Seattle taking?
Ovechkin, Landeskog.
I think they might circle back on Dougie Hamilton. I've heard that. There's also an opportunity for them to have had handshake deals with team or with players to say, we're not going to sign you before because then you'll count as our expansion draft pick, but we'll come back to you after it's done. And that way we can pick a player from your team and also sign you as a UFA. So they run some risk that they lose the player, but at the same time, if the player's all for it, that's another way that they can maximize their opportunity as an expansion team.
I think there'll be lots of UFAs who are interested in Seattle after watching what's happened in Las Vegas. Like, it's an electric market. The fans are really behind that team now. I think Seattle could follow suit. So why wouldn't you as a UFA if you don't like your current situation?
Thank you, Yogurt Bert. That is an extremely nice comment and one that I needed after being self-conscious about my hairline. Biggest free agent signing for the Wings this offseason from North Moto. That actually leads to a question that I have that I think is related. What are the Red Wings going to do on the left side of defense this year? With Cholowski gone,
they're gonna go out and find another John Merrill type for $900,000. It's not the sexy answer, but they did it last year effectively. No reason to not repeat it.
I'd be happy to do the same.
Who that's going to be, I don't know, but someone like that.
It's not going to be Mark. I don't want to say it's definitely not going to be Mark Stahl, but I just don't see that being Mark Stahl again, right?
Joe Hicketts, come on down.
It's got to be. It really speaks to what they thought of Cholowski, knowing that they needed left side defense, and they still left him exposed.
Heard Brian Suter's a free agent.
Yeah, he'll want to go somewhere where he can win, though.
Heard Keith Yandel's a free agent.
That's actually not a bad
Alex
choice.
Edler.
He will also want to go somewhere to win.
Edler or Yandel?
Yeah.
What about Ryan Murray?
I've been pro Ryan Murray, but every time I've brought it up on Twitter or whatever, it seems to be unpopular. So I don't know. I think Ryan Murray would be the ideal candidate if he comes cheap enough and short term enough, which given his recent track record is possible.
Hey, you know who we could get? Brendan Smith. Free agent, left-handed defenseman. We are good to go.
But why? We just lost younger Brendan Smith to Seattle.
Essentially. And you know what? For all my qualms with Dennis Cholowski, at least Dennis Cholowski was a defenseman. Brendan Smith by no means was anything besides a forward who was playing defense. All right, we're back with the expansion draft. Did they get to Philadelphia or did they stop after New York?
I think they stopped after New York.
Oh, man, they need to hurry this thing along. Oh, they're up at the Space Needle. I've never been to Seattle. Well, now we have a great excuse to go.
I haven't either, but Catherine's got a cousin who lives in Seattle, and it looks and sounds sick. Great food, lots of stuff to do. I heard it's very much like Vancouver, which I have also not been to.
Someone asked about the Seattle's AHL team. They are getting a team in Palm Springs. That is, I think, still to be named, if I'm correct here. And that'll be Seattle's AHL affiliate when that one comes in. So that'll be Palm Springs, technically in Palm Desert, California, and they'll start in 2022. So that'll be their team, and that'll be easy for them just to fire up and down the West Coast when they need to call up players.
I don't understand
there
this
is-
pick either.
If there is
Who
no
is this?
side deal on this one, I don't understand anything.
Like James Van Riemsdyk's available. You could take Gostis Bear. I don't understand.
Twarinsky.
So far,
No
it just
idea.
looks like Seattle said, let's give us the cheap players imaginable and worry about everything else later.
It's funny because this is a team that was talking about Carey Price. They obviously didn't take Carey Price and his insane contract on. But this is a team where ownership was fully willing and ready to not only take on Carey Price's contract, but an $11 million payout that was to happen in September. And now it looks like they're building a cap minimum team where they're just trying to maximize cap space. I think that's actually the right way to go. I don't know if you can count on the Vegas scenario here, but it's funny the disparity based on what was happening. It really makes me believe that they're not. It was a lot of smoke and mirrors with the Carey Price thing. That
Maybe
really
they really want to. They might really want to be in on the next two drafts. Like really push for the top picks. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of right now.
Did you guys purposely set up your cams to look like the timekeepers? No Loki spoilers in here. Yeah, the league and ESPN need to have done a better job here in terms of both announcing these deals today. Like I just don't understand how they couldn't have. They should have formulated this better where A, things shouldn't have leaked, and B, we should know the deals as they are today. Like that's who people care about, what people care about more. The presentation with the city of Seattle and the team is nice, but
is Brandon Tanev like a hometown kid or something?
No, he's a depth player on a terrible contract, and I can't understand for the life of me why Seattle took him. Like, with every other pick they've made so far, they were so conscious to not take on bad contracts. And yet.
So that is Tanev from Pittsburgh. We have Washington left in the Metro division. Man. Have they been mixing up the jerseys, or have they been only doing the whites so far?
Well, they released the navy ones a while ago, so the white ones are new.
Oh, did those only release today, the white ones? You said the white ones are new. Did those literally only unveiled today? I feel like we've seen them before.
We might have. I don't know. I remember seeing the navy one months ago.
They look like that close-up of Tanev. They look pretty poorly constructed, eh? The panels.
There's a mug shot. My God. Even he's surprised they took.
I thought for sure they were going to take Zach Aston Reese here.
I love that picture of Tanev so much. I'm going to put it up on the stream. That's so funny. Oh, man. You thought they'd go with Zach Aston Reese?
I thought Pedersen had a shot there.
I think maybe they just didn't like his contract.
Well, it's been a theme. That has definitely been a theme. But yet they took a worse contract. I don't get it.
What do you guys think of me just taking the Tanev mugshot and overlaying it over Evan?
Okay, they took Vanacek. Oh, I'm ahead of you guys. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. We already
No,
know the pick.
that's where I was at.
So Washington loses goaltender Vitek Vanacek. Vitek or Vitek?
Doesn't
Wasn't
matter.
VTech the phones that they gave away on Hockey Night in Canada back in the mid-90s?
No, man, that was TSN, and they still did it not that long ago. And that VTech giveaway thing, Patrick Laine won someone $1 million in that giveaway when he scored 5 goals against St. Louis.
Oh, my God, I forgot about that. And look where he is now. He might sign his qualifying offer, right?
Who?
Really?
Patrick Laine.
Who did he
Yeah.
sign?
He might sign his qualifying offer of like $7.5 million. Brad, did you see the news of Toronto possibly doing a sign and trade with Edmonton for Hyman?
You're joking.
Yeah,
Like
because
an actual rumor, or like this was like NHL rumors.sc.
no,
Like an
like
actual
rumor because they want to get the 8 years. Same thing that they did with Nugent Hopkins. Get the 8 years, bring the AAV weight down. Yeah. Yeah.
Ken Holland, since if he does this, is making a run for Jim Benning levels of bad in Edmonton here. Like,
Well,
he's going to give up an asset to overpay Zach Hyman even more. That's staggering. Like, I would not. If I was on a contending team at max, I would give Zach Hyman 4 years. Max. And then otherwise, I would just pass.
I just accidentally overlaid the Tanev picture over the entire stream. Oh, I should do it again. No, and then also apparently there's a Mike Smith extension coming from multi-year.
He's 39. What is Ken Holland effing doing? Like,
Well,
I've been the Ken Holland apologist on this podcast for like the entire time. Not that I've agreed with everything he's done, but what he is doing right now is insane. Insane. The fact he's even considering 8 years on Zach Hyman is crazy. A multi-year contract on Mike Smith, who admittedly had a very good year last year, which was preceded by 4 terrible years. So, maybe that's an indicator that last year was an aberration. A multi-year contract at 39 years old. Like, I can't even process it. There's no logic behind it whatsoever.
The news that Jonathan Bernier is going to test the market, I think, also should have been attractive to Ken Holland. He's familiar with Bernier. He's seen what he's done in Detroit. I think that's honestly.
Well, they can't start talking to free agents yet, right?
No, but what's the rush, really? Like Mike Smith, what are you worried about losing Mike Smith? He had a much better year.
Wait, did they sign Mike Smith?
They're talking about a multi-year extension at age 39.
Oh, jeez. I thought you were talking about Duncan Keith. I missed the name.
Oh, I mean...
No, he's already got 2 years left at too much money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're losing Larson. That was the news that dropped, I think, last night or today, was, Larson's probably going to sign with Seattle. Yeah, and so Larson seemed like he was going to be a lock. Honestly, if I'm Larson and I see the kind of money that they're paying Duncan Keith, whether they're the ones who signed him to that contract or not, in a de facto way they are because they traded for him willingly, I don't know why I'd stay in Edmonton. I'd rather go to Seattle, get a fresh start, and have a team pay me what I think I'm worth there without, having to deal with that. Not that he hates Duncan Keith, but when you're negotiating a tight salary situation and they're spending $5.5 million on a 37-year-old and they're squeezing you.
Sorry. There it is on the ticker right now. Oilers re-signed Mike Smith to a 2-year contract worth $4 million. Just bad shit.
AAV or total?
Total. So it's $2 million
total
per year.
I mean, which is perfectly acceptable for a backup goal.
Yeah.
But does anybody think Mike Smith is going to be the backup?
No.
Well, no. Exactly. They'll ride the hot hand, but when they get to the playoffs, are Mike Smith or Koskinen going to do anything? No, obviously.
There's no way they're not going to have the cap space to bring Koskinen back. They're going to have to buy him out. There's no way.
That was such a bad deal. I can't believe the Edmonton Brass let Chiarelli do that on his way out.
Just crazy. That whole organization is beyond repair. Has to be burned to the ground and started again for the 12th time.
Hey, you think those guys could pour my cement pad for my hot tub?
Yeah, probably.
Should get them out there.
All right. Time for a quick poll. We have a lot of requests in the chat to just start openly speaking about the Seattle roster. If you are in the chat and you are for or against this, let us know, and we'll move accordingly. Evan, be damned. because I know a lot of you have seen the roster, and if we can, now that the Red Wings pick has kind of come and gone, I know a lot of people are maybe less concerned about spoilers. So let us know. And
how many divisions are left? Pacific,
Pacific and Central, 2 divisions. So we'll have to do it that way. Yeah. Well, there are a few people against it. The for the arena, the roof and the skyline of it is considered a national or a historic site in Seattle, and the city was super keen on using this arena for the team, and that is Tyler Pitlick from Arizona. That is their pick. Pitlick. So let's see, 4.
I don't even know who I picked.
Pitlick was right there.
Yeah. It's been a long day, man. So they actually had to pretty much prop the roof of that arena in Seattle and kind of build under it and re-support it. And they actually had to dig down again. I think since they've started work on this arena, both for Seattle and in previous renovations, they've had to dig down like 35 or 40 feet or something to give more room.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So there are a lot of people who want us to just kind of discuss the team. So we are going to do it broadly at this point. So for any of you who don't want it spoiled, it might be best to just mute or tune out for now. But I think it's probably good to just start having broader conversations about Seattle. We don't even necessarily have to talk about the specific players. We can probably do it without talking about those specific players. But for example, Brad, when we were talking about, why would they take Cholowski, or why would they take, a defenseman from, I can't remember what defenseman Evan was asking about.
Why would they not take Jake Bean?
Yeah. Let's talk broadly about the composition of the team and what kind of Seattle went for here.
Well, they didn't take Jake Bean because they took like 13 other left shot defensemen. Like that was honestly the biggest reason, because obviously Detroit's pick got spoiled last. When you looked at the composition of the team before that got spoiled, I thought for sure it was going to be Stetcher because they only had 2 right shot D at that point, 2 or 3. Like they have this glut of left shot D, so there's definitely going to be some flips coming there. So some of these guys are never going to play a minute in Seattle. They're going to be flipped to another team in the next week, like Vegas did with a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Are we just talking broadly about Seattle in general now?
Yeah. Everyone has fair warning. We're going to be talking about the team. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Unless there's a mountain of side deals coming tomorrow, this team is garbage. This is a bad hockey team. They have decent depth.
We would know. We would know.
No, we would know. We know a bad hockey team when we see one, and this is a bad hockey team. Their number one priority was keeping cap space, and they went too aggressive with it. Did they even make it to the salary cap floor? I'm not even sure they got that far.
Yeah, they did. They made it past the salary cap floor.
Just barely though, right? They're not even at 50.
I think they were very close to the floor overall.
I don't think they got over, what was it, 55 million, or was it 65 million? But
I'll look up the details. But yeah,
they picked a bunch of low-level pending UFAs, which again leads me to just believe pass. Like John Quenneville from Chicago. I mean, what? Why?
I'm gonna reserve judgment until I see all the side deals because I can't.
Same. There has to be a lot coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
There has to be, because a good 25% of these picks make no sense. But if it was, we didn't take this guy because we're getting a second round pick to not take him. Okay, fair. That's good. They very clearly have an eye on the future. They took a lot of young players. They took no bad contracts except for Brandon Tanev. They maximize salary cap room. So they're in a great position to be a really good team 5 years from now. If you view Seattle, what they did today as quote unquote a rebuilding team, but they're just building from scratch, it's great. They left themselves every window, and they took a bunch of good bets on young players who haven't broke through yet. Like Jared McCann could be their William Karlsson. Morgan Geeky, I like. We talked at length about Cholowski, like guys like Bastian. There's something there. Not that they're going to break through all of them, obviously not. But yeah, I don't know. This was not what I was expecting them to do, even though I kind of thought is what they would do. But they went heavy towards this plan. So yeah, they basically did the anti-Vegas again, unless the trades are unbelievable tomorrow.
I think that was one of their two main options, though, right? Like, if they didn't see an opportunity like Vegas did, where between trades and between the players available and completely fleecing GMs, like, think about what Florida gave Vegas. A lot of what Vegas had to do was based on really fooling other GMs who hadn't been in a situation like this before. A lot of those GMs are still around. They've learned pretty much not to do the same thing. They probably just didn't have the opportunity to do a lot of these things, like to pull in the kind of like the Marchessault and whatever else they got from other teams, where teams essentially paid them a player to take another player and protect a different player, and the two players they gave up were, ended up being stars like William Karlsson, Marchessault, whatever it might be for Vegas. The details are escaping me. So they had to either chance for that, or they wanted to just maintain as much cap space as possible. So in my mind, this was one of two likely scenarios, and I don't hate it from Seattle. It's not sexy. It's not fun. But at the same time, like, they're going to have the most leverage out of any other team in the league. They're going to have the most ability to move around for this draft, the next draft, and the draft after. Shit, they might be tanking for Shane Wright and or Michkov or Bedard, right? Like, that has to be on their mind. There's a very smart scouting team there, and there's a very smart analytical team who know the kind of impact those players can have. So why would they take a chance at being a playoff team, maybe making it, and if they do, getting bounced first or second round, and then miss out on the great top of the next draft and the draft after that are coming? Also, the home jerseys are substantially better than the aways, seeing them in person.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say substantially, but yes.
I would say substantially. I'm with you, Ryan.
Yeah. Jamie Oleksiak from Dallas,
who has signed a big fat extension with them as well.
Good for him.
He looks exactly what you'd think a hockey guy looks like.
Oh my God, the tooth that's missing too. Jeez. That is just a classic hockey. Like, I'm pretty sure I've played hockey with 10 of him before. I have the overall salary here. This is from Greg Wyshynski. Current cap hit, including Larson and Drieger, $49.45 million. And I believe the minimum was just north of 48, or was the minimum was $48.9 million.
So they literally spent to the bare minimum.
Yeah. 20 players under contract.
Why did they not
season.
take Kaapo Kähkönen from Minnesota and they took Carson Soucy? Why did they not take Kähkönen?
Because this was already explained. Decord has waiver flexibility, and they've got Vanacek and Drieger.
Oh yeah,
and Soucy's actually a good player. He's one of the guys especially the analytics guys really love. The guy that a lot of Minnesota fans have been pounding the table to give a bigger shot to. So I don't mind this pick at all.
Man, they could have had a Stetcher Soucy pairing,
which legit would have been really good.
Yeah.
It's, this really kind of harks back to the Vegas draft for me, because I remember a lot of the Vegas draft was people saying, oh, they made a lot of weird picks. They avoided the obvious picks, blah, blah, blah. You kind of have to compare it to NHL drafts, right? Like, they don't operate in the same way that we think. Like, it's not always the obvious picks that make it.
Okay, so answer me one question here. When the Vegas expansion draft happened, because I can't remember, did we know the trades at the expansion draft? I feel like we knew the trades, so everything made sense. Like, this is ESPN's first hockey production. They're drafting a terrible team, and we're not allowed to know what the side deals are till tomorrow. Like, this is peak NHL stupidity. I think someone tweeted that at me. Like, just absolutely dumb.
I see.
Like, 'cause
I see you're learning about the NHL and how they get in their own way.
It's because if we could see, like, oh yeah, they took Gavin Bayreuther out of Columbus, but Columbus is also sending along, so-and-so player, or they're giving up a first-round pick to not take Max Domi, hypothetically. That makes that a lot more interesting and gives, the main thing here, Seattle fans, another reason to get excited. Because if I'm someone from Seattle watching this right now, I'm worried. Because there's not a lot of reason to expect them to be good this year now, which didn't happen with Vegas. So I don't know.
You know what? I think they're going to ride the high of being a new team. And that's going to be a lot of their excitement for the first little while. But you don't know what's going to happen with the trades. You don't know what's going to happen with free agency. They might bring in Dougie Hamilton. They might bring in these other players.
That's exactly my point. We don't know the trades, which is kind of putting a damper on this. If we knew the trades, this would be a lot more fun.
It's a huge bummer. It's kind of annoying too, right? Like, the draft is Friday. Let's do this now. Give it time to, marinate. Let people kind of dissect it, talk about it, and then get ready for the draft Friday. It's just really weird how they do this. Yeah, Nathan, I believe, was saying the projected points for Vegas in year one was 72, and that obviously didn't end up happening. So,
well, was that the projected points based off the players they took in the expansion draft, or did that include the trades? Because a lot of their most important players didn't come via the expansion draft. Like, who was it? Marchessault, Shea Theodore, Alex Tuck all came via trade. Like, they weren't actually picked in the expansion draft.
Also,
now don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't think Seattle. Let me be clear. I don't think they're a basement feeder with this team. I think they're better than Detroit, Buffalo, a couple of those teams down there. But I also don't know I don't think this is a playoff team. Again, trades pending.
I think I just burped right into the mic. Sorry, guys. Kakinen is also waiver exempt.
Yeah, but I think what happened there is Kakinen's pretty good. Decord's good, but not as good. But Susie is pretty good, and Ottawa had no one else of value to pick. So Susie and Decord is probably better than Kakinen and whatever career AHLer you would have picked out of Ottawa instead. Or they could have taken like Dodonov or Tierney, but they were very clearly avoiding bad contracts.
So did they cut to commercial before they did Nashville?
I believe so.
Yes.
So we have the Pacific plus Nashville, St. Louis, and Winnipeg to go, and then
oh my god,
up.
I don't even know the picks, and I'm bored.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. There's not a lot of fun picks for the rest of them. Like,
hockey guys go on stage, say nothing, and then make a pick that you forget 5 minutes later.
It's not really.
This isn't for us. Like we have
for Seattle.
A small interest. It's more for the Seattle fans.
Could have been for everyone though. It really could have been. But yeah, then again, we're not going to beat that dead horse, I suppose. The Macklemore was the high point. That's funny. Again, just have it all announced live here. Sure, they wanted those players there, but no one's going to think about this event and say, "Oh, wow, I'm very happy I got to hear from, Tanev in a Seattle jersey on stage." Not really. Like, yeah, that's cool for the fans in attendance and the Seattle fans, but to get league-wide interest, have it all happen there. Does that suck logistically for the players and would the agents be pissed? Yeah, sure, but who cares? It's an entertainment sport. It's not for them. It's for the fans, right? Small price to pay to be a millionaire. But hey, I am really excited for Seattle fans. I think it's a cool time. That we probably won't see this again for a long time. I think the NHL is going to stick at 32 teams. It's not the end of the world that they botched the presentation of it, but I don't know. it's cool that we at least get this now, and happy for Seattle to get to experience it. I just hope the first season's not too painful for them.
I'm now worried for Saturday that we're going to be streaming rounds 2 through 7 of the draft for 8.5 hours.
They did promise that this year would be faster for rounds 2 through
After
7.
watching this, I'm not buying it. No chance. We're going just as long.
Marshawn Lynch. Oh, well, they missed an opportunity by not having a bag of Skittles. What is his chain?
Probably not approved sponsorship.
Yeah, that's true. Also, I'd never forgive Skittles for switching from green apple or from lime to green apple. Shame on them. Oh, man.
I like how Gary Payton said his favorite part about hockey is the fights.
Oleksiak's contract. Oh, wow, that's a fat extension for him. Good for him. Cap Friendly is updating as we go along here, which is, I think, pretty cool. Nice of them to not kind of spoil it for people.
Red Wings prospect, Calle Jarnkrok.
Yeah, I think that's a good pickup for them. I think they could
Me
also
too.
flip Jarnkrok around if they want to, or keep him. I think he's a good, probably middle six player for them to have. Yeah, Oleksiak has a $4.6 million cap hit over the next 5 years. Adam Larson signed for $4 million a year over 4 years. Man, the fact that he walked from Edmonton for really similar money, that's tough. I don't think Adam Larson's the world's biggest loss, but at the same time, it's not a lot
Edmonton
of money
now
to
has
lose him for.
nothing to show for the Taylor Hall trade.
No.
Because it was 1-for-1.
Boston's in talks to keep Taylor Hall. Apparently, that's going well for them. You guys see the Miro Heiskanen extension?
What was it, 8x8?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 by 8.45.
He's sick. He is sick.
He's 22 years old and already one of the top defensemen in the league. That's a great contract.
It's
going to eat up a lot of UFA years, right?
Few.
Yeah, and it's literally they have him all the way through his prime now, and they can walk right when he's turning 30. Like it's perfect.
I'm kind of surprised he signed that contract, honestly.
Hey, you're a 22-year-old, and someone slaps like near $70 million in your face. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, if you take that contract to 25 or 27, maybe. I know it's harder to do, but yeah. Still, it's a good signing for him. I love Heiskanen. It's fun watching him play. I think that'll age well for Dallas. They're getting all of his best years.
Yep.
All right. We are continuing to announce the picks here. We just did Nashville, which is Calle Jarnkrok. Next up is St. Louis. So they have the choice between Tarasenko and Vince Dunn. And they are going to select Vince Dunn. So they passed on Tarasenko. I like Vince Dunn. I think he's a good pickup for any team. I'm really surprised they didn't go with Tarasenko here.
I thought they would go with Vince Dunn. I would be nervous about what's going on with Tarasenko's shoulders, given the number of surgeries they've had to endure in such a short period of time.
What I've heard with Vince Dunn is that, or with Tarasenko, was that his shoulder surgeries didn't go well, or like they botched it, and it was a correction that they had to do afterwards. Which he's fine now, but I don't know. That's tough. That's tough for a team to take on, right? But then again, you take on Tarasenko and then you flip him with salary retained. You never know.
Yeah. Yep. I'm somewhat surprised they didn't go with someone like Dylan DeMello and went with Mason Appleton.
Appleton's good. I think Appleton's no slouch, but DeMello was I think what a lot of people were expecting here. So that one's kind of a surprise as well.
Lock him up for a few years. Not a terrible cap hit. Right-handed defenseman.
I think probably
not my team.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of Winnipeg fans are happy. I think a lot of actual fans around the league are kind of annoyed that they didn't take DeMello to flip him, because they would have wanted to take him and then trade. Appleton is Good point. Green Spartan. He's from MSU, so automatically we hate him. No, I'm just kidding. Cider said he chose number 53 after Herbie the Love Bug. I love that kid. That's hysterical. No, I think he's a good pick. I think between him and DeMello, they couldn't go wrong, and they have a smart team over there. They know what they're doing. So that is the Central Division. They are on to the Pacific, in which they have 6 picks to make: Anaheim, Calgary, Edmonton, LA, San Jose, and Vancouver. Obviously, there's nothing to select from Seattle, and Vegas is exempt. The Vegas ownership looks smarter and smarter for basically negotiating to exempt themselves from this expansion draft day, protecting this roster.
I thought they would take Hayden Fleury since they took his brother from Montreal. Cal Fleury?
That was the play. They kept all the cap space, so now they can trade for Marc-Andre.
Yeah, after signing Drieger and getting Vanacek. I still think if Bernier walks, Detroit should do either a trade and flip or facilitate a trade the same way they did with Savard with Fleury. Why not?
Why not?
Or, as Rowan mentioned, bring in Caden Fulcher and just play him 40 games this year to make sure that they end up with Shane Wright. Okay. Yeah, I know a lot of people are saying this is kind of boring based on who they're picking. Yeah, I mean, if you were looking for the most thrilling set of picks in the world, this wasn't going to be it no matter what. So, Hayden Fleury from Anaheim. Calgary's pick, I mean, even without spoiling, Calgary's pick was going to be obvious, right? Even you knew that one, Evan?
Sorry, say that again? I was listening to Hayden Fleury.
Even without knowing the spoilers, Calgary's pick is obvious to you.
It has to be Giordano, right?
Yeah, has to be. It's a tough spot for Calgary to be in, but really no other way to go with it is what it is.
And Giordano's a good candidate to flip, retain some salary and flip him to a team.
Yeah, you never know when his drop-off is going to be, right? So you don't want to bring him in and keep him until he retires. You maximize those assets, so.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense taking a 37-year-old unless you're going to flip him or send him to Edmonton.
After the Vegas draft, I really don't want to ever predict that one team is going to be, a team's going to be terrible or like those players aren't going to pan out or what a terrible roster construction this is. But I really got to see what happens with these side deals because, man, it's a funny collection of players. It's not like all of them are bad. I think they have a lot of good players in there. I just don't know if it adds up to like a competitive team.
Yeah, so far I'm not overly thrilled with how they would stack up in the Pacific. Like the Pacific's fairly weak, but I'm still not thrilled about the team they've built so far.
We know the Edmonton pick is going to be Adam Larson, obviously, because they've signed him to that contract within their negotiating window. And then pretty much it's just LA, San Jose, and Vancouver. And hate to spoil, but none of those picks are thrilling at all.
Shocker.
Yeah.
In fact, one of them by expected goals for was the worst player in the entire NHL last year. So that's a fun one.
Was that LA's pick?
Yep.
Yeah, that's got to be it's either a throwaway or that's one of the side deals, right? Like, I guess if you're a GM paying to avoid a player and you pay the exorbitant price that definitely takes, first, second round picks, prospects, whatever, you're saying, okay, if I'm paying you this much, not only are you going to not take the player that we want you to avoid, you're going to take this specific garbage player out of our system, like get rid of the contract.
So I don't think that's what happened in LA's case because someone put a screenshot, I think it was for this pick on Twitter, of Ron Francis's team when he was playing with the Whalers. And I think that guy's dad played with him for a bunch of years in Hartford.
That better not be the case. That's terrible.
If there's no side deal there, it's the only explanation. Because again, arguably the worst player in the league statistically.
That's so bad. Then again, you never know, right? Like, it could just be that Seattle said, okay, you don't want us to take such and such, then at least let us take this random throwaway because there's no one else who we want. So let's get this for like the emotional thing because Francis knows the guy. All right. Any other questions here from the chat or comments as we're starting to wrap up the stream as we're getting to the final few picks? Any other points that you guys want to talk about with what's kind of transpired today in terms of Seattle, where you expect them to be, surprising picks, etc.? Do you ever think it was a real consideration, the Montreal thing with Carey Price?
Based on what I've seen today, I don't think it was as real as what people started to think it was. I think it may have just been gamesmanship. See if they could muster up any sort of interest from other teams.
I can't help but think that it was mostly pushed by Mark Bergevin. What did you say last episode, Brad? Like your conspiracy theory, which I think is absolutely true with how the news was issued with like injuries and stuff like that.
They announced that they weren't protecting him, thinking Seattle wasn't going to take his contract. Seattle said, "Hey, we're going to very seriously consider this." And then Montreal released reports, "Oh, hey, he's really hurt. His knee's bad. Yeah, we still might take him, and his hip." So, yeah, 1,000%. That's what happens.
All right, we're getting into the last few picks here. We're probably going to wrap up the stream pretty soon. So, again, let's give you a rundown of the content that is to come up. If this show was dull and kind of annoying to watch because everything was leaked, please know that the Friday draft stream is genuinely much more exciting than this. It's a great time to watch. We love doing the live stream for that. The first round of the draft is one of the most, actually, I'd probably say the most fun live stream we have all year. That is one that we hope you tune in for. So again, it's going to be a Friday live stream. Before that comes, listen to our 2021 NHL Draft preview episode, which is already out. It's a primer for the entire, basically everything you need to know for the start of the NHL Draft, especially the first round and Detroit's, first four picks, first, 23rd, 38th, and 48th. And then Saturday we have a Patreon exclusive, basically hangout stream kind of thing all day, or for rounds 2 through 7, and then Sunday is the draft recap episode. So lots and lots and lots to come there. But for now, let's finish up these last couple picks.
That so doctor funny? Is jerking off. That doctor is jerking off an invisible dick.
God.
Staring into the camera, making that motion.
All to announce Mark Giordano.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, he is probably one of the best players that they drafted. Who are they going to give the C to? Matt Beniers.
Yeah.
Probably not. Probably nobody. They didn't announce a captain in Vegas for like 3 years.
Yeah, I don't know that you don't want to announce a captain, though, if your team's not going to be competitive. You need kind of players to represent and rally around, right?
Then Giordano, but they're going to trade him. So it's probably going to be, I don't know, Larson, Alexiak, someone they signed long term.
Man, those dark jerseys are clean. One thing that I do like about the Adidas jerseys are like the dimples on the shoulder, and I like how they shine with the teal through them. I think that's really cool. All right. Sean, live podcast on Sunday. Wish we could do that, but I think far too much goes into the draft recap episode. We kind of need notes, the ability to edit, take breaks, that kind of thing. How many points are realistic for Seider next season? Points? Don't expect too much.
82.
Yeah, I think, no more than 120. No, I would honestly say I would not be shocked if he plays a full 82 game season. I would not be shocked if it's between 10 and 20 for Seider.
Yeah, it's about right.
That was where I figured the number that jumped out to me initially was about 15. So yeah,
could be less. It could be. He's not exactly known for an exceptionally strong offensive game. He's not devoid of offense. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I think that's the part of his game that's going to take probably the longest to translate to the NHL. Getting up to NHL speed, physicality, those aren't necessarily going to be hard for him, but they will take time as for any rookie defenseman. So don't expect the world from him. Points for Raymond and Grand Rapids next year. Ooh, that's a good one. Depends how many games they play.
0.75 points per, depending how many games he plays, because he might only play half a season.
Yeah, I'll say 0.75 to 0.8 points per game. Would Detroit be in the running for Alec Martinez? Maybe. I kind of see a team overpaying for him, quite honestly, just based on name value alone. Oh, let's look at the UFA defenseman. Browse by free agents, and left-handed and defense. Let's see what we get here. Man, Mark Stahl, I just don't see it happening again. Goligoski could happen. You know what, Brad? You're right. Ryan Murray might be the fit here. I just don't know what his number will be. If he wants like a reclamation thing, but then again, what's the news on him with New Jersey? Is he gonna stay there? Hard to say.
No, he's probably gone.
His cap hit was $4.6 million. Oof. Martinez is an option. Maybe Nemeth again. I wouldn't hate the idea of bringing Nemeth back.
Man, they could have had a sick decor, eh? Larson, Susie, Stetcher,
Giordano,
Alexiak,
Done.
and Vince Dunn. Like, that's really, like,
it's not bad.
Very good for an expansion team.
It's
Their
really
defense is going to be exceptionally good. They are going to really struggle to score goals, and I've got a gut feeling their goaltending is going to be a disaster.
I don't know. Between Drieger and Vanacek?
Vanacek, and Decord, are you kidding?
What's wrong with that?
Decord wasn't good. No. Vanacek's save percentage last year was like a 908 behind a stacked team.
And Drieger was great. You ride him for as long as you can.
And he had one good year on a stacked team at like 27 years old.
Was Florida stacked? I think Florida underperformed behind him actually quite a bit.
You mean the team that everybody expected to miss the playoffs that almost won the damn division and President's Trophy underperformed?
So how many games? He played 23. His last in 2019-2020, played a dozen games, posted a 204 and 938 save percentage. It's just a dozen games. I'm not saying Drieger but still
will be bad. I'm saying he's got not sustainable written all over him. If it is sustainable, great. They did build a strong defense in front of him, which is going to help him. Vanacek wasn't good this year, and Decord's nothing special. So
I don't know.
I do not understand this LA pick.
Oh, yeah, this was the guy I was talking about, the statistical worst player in the NHL last year. This one, this has to be a side deal, or it's literally just because he knows his dad.
Yeah. All right. Some people are asking about the Wings D pairing. You're probably looking at Letty Sider. They'll probably try to ride to Kaiser Hronek for as long as they can, but you might see who else would step in on that left side would they flip Hronek back to the left and have him play with Stetcher?
No, he was terrible over there. Sider, Letty. Well, no, I don't even think Sider Letty's going to happen because Letty is your top defenseman, so he's going to get top minutes. So I think it's going to be Letty Hronek because they'll play 25 minutes a night. I think it'll be Sider to Kaiser and then Stetcher and whatever left-handed veteran D they sign in free agency.
Yeah, that's fair. They're probably going to have to bring in a lot of people or a couple people. Alexander True from San Jose. So we're just waiting on the Vancouver pick, and then we are all done. Vancouver will be Seattle's biggest rival, which I think will be a fun matchup. Although their first game, I'm pretty sure, is against Vegas. Expansion teams.
It is in Vegas, because why would you want Seattle to open at home? They did the same thing with Vegas. It's just stupid.
Could just be a scheduling thing with the arena or like preparedness, or
then you delay it or you bump it up. An expansion team should play their first ever game in front of their own fans. It's never made sense to me whenever the NHL hasn't done that.
I hope they have that thing where They can't be. They beat everyone, but they just lose to Detroit. Same way Detroit had Vegas. Vegas was just running over everyone, and Detroit's the one. The worst Detroit team in a long time were the ones to stop them.
Detroit is the only team in the NHL that still hasn't lost a game in Vegas.
No such thing as the Vegas flu for Detroit. The Detroit Red Wings. All business.
Yeah, we're 2 for 2 there.
Zachary Egan S. Is Brad happy about anything today? No, absolutely not. He actually came to mine and Evan's house individually and stabbed us both in the shoulder before driving home. That's why he was late for the stream. So,
yeah, no, today's not been a pleasant day. I mean, and this, well, let's be honest, we're watching the same event. This sucks. Like, this is not a good start in Seattle for the NHL. Like, just a piss boring event.
There's Jerry Bruckheimer looks rich. That dude just looks like he has way too much money. I don't know why.
Not by the way he's dressed. Jesus Christ. He's dressed so badly that
going to space.
He's dressed so poorly right now that you can tell he doesn't care. He has enough money to not care.
Yeah. There's a certain level. Like when you get into like ultra, like super rich, you dress super nice, designer clothes. And then you get into like ultra rich where it's like it's clothes you know that they don't have labels, it was all custom made. And then you get into like the 0.0001 percenters, and those are the people who wear they wear Walmart clothes because they do not give a single shit. So we are
like
just
look at
waiting.
Bruckheimer right now. His pants are too tight, his shirt is too loose. Like it's not even that it's bad clothing, he's not even wearing it right.
Cole Lind is the last pick. That is from Vancouver.
All right, I'm turning that crap off.
So that is the Seattle Kraken. Pitlick, Quenneville, Donskoy, Alexiak, Susie, Yarncroc, Dunn, Appleton, Fleury, Giordano, Larson, McDermott, True, Lind, Lozon, Borgen, Cholosky, Drieger, Fleury, Decord, Gourde, McCann, Geeky, Bayreuther, Bastian, Eberle, Blackwell, Tworinsky, Tanev, and Vanacek, all without knowing the side deals quite yet. So that is still to come. We are going to wrap up this live stream. Thank you guys for sticking with us. We know this was a little bit of a weird event, but hey, still always a good excuse to stream with everyone. Again, if you haven't yet, listen to our 2021 NHL Draft preview episode. It's currently out right now. Watch it on YouTube. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. Friday will be our 2021 NHL Draft live stream for the first round. It is the biggest live stream that we have all year. It's the most fun event that we have all year. It's going to be a blast. See you Detroit draft 6th and 23rd overall. We'll do giveaways. We'll be starting, we'll be starting around 7 p.m. that day. And then we'll have day 2 will be a Patreon exclusive stream. Oh, and one thing here. This is a signed Henrik Zetterberg stick that we are giving away to a Winged Wheel Podcast patron as our way of saying thank you for supporting the show. The Zata stick, number 40, Swedish export, and that is from the Red Wings alumni. And that will be given away to a patron after the draft as our way of saying thanks to them. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for the episode later tonight. Join us on Friday for the live stream. And if you can, consider supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/WingedWheelPodcast. And if you can, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. All right, guys, stay tuned. We're going to go record an episode.